stop turning off the supporting ads. We have been conditioned in paid advertising to just hyper focus on which ad is giving us the conversion.
There's no way to lose with ads, but the way that people lose is because they're looking at them the wrong way and they're turning them off. They're turning them on. They're turning them off. And that's literally sending signals to the algorithm.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us on another Marketing Monday with Joel and Laurel. Happy to have you here. I don't know if this is episode 3 or 4, but we are in the weeds now and in a really, really good routine. What you are going to learn from us here today, we are going to revisit the work that we did last week. So if you missed last week's episode, you are going to see us do a deep dive on Laurel's brand, some new offers that she's running, new ads that she extracted from the conversation that we had last week, and then she'll share some pretty outstanding results. I'm going to tease them for you a little bit because I want you guys to watch and pay attention. And really the goal of what we're going to talk about here today is we're going to call it surprising results, different types of ads that kind of blew our mind, had no idea that they were actually going to convert as well as they did. And the goal here is to get you guys to start to expand your mind, expand your creative palette, and just test new angles. Laurel, welcome. Good to see you.
Oh man, I'm super pumped for today because when you told me we were going to be talking about ads that were kind of unexpectedly, I automatically was like, this is such a great conversation because what I'm seeing right now is people overthinking. They're overthinking like my ads need to be big and beautiful and match my brand and all of that stuff. And I'm just like, no, quite the opposite of all of that. And so like if today we can shift some mindsets around that, I think people are going to get a lot of value out of our conversation today.
Yep. This was all this idea for our show here today came from a conversation that you and I have had a few times about self-identifying power offers. And that's just one style of an ad that I've taught in my program years and years ago, my power offer workshop program. And it came from an old client of mine in the personal development space by the name of Brent Kokel. I don't know if he's running this offer still. I mean, this was like 5 or 6 years ago, so it wouldn't surprise me if it's no longer running. But if I can, while we are jamming, I'm going to see if I can find that ad or maybe just like a summary of that ad because the self-identifying power offer is just so freaking powerful. It is so powerful. It really is just meant to be, especially if you're in coaching, like this doesn't have to be exclusive for coaches, but just that's a large segment of my audience. If you're selling personal development and you're selling, some sort of coaching transformation, ideally your clients want to be a version of you. Like you are the ideal version of what you're selling. And Brent's ad was a perfect example of that. But before we get into that, last week, Laurel and I did a little bit of a creative deep dive session and a creative extraction session where I interviewed her about her new offer because she has some new things that's coming out and she was, feeling a little bit blind as to the different angles in which she could take. And so I gave her a little bit of my consulting in my brain to help extract that. If you didn't watch it, go watch it. Find it on my channel from last week where we do that creative deep dive. Because what we uncovered was pretty incredible. We uncovered completely new angles for her new offer, completely new strategies. And like anyone who likes to make a lot of money, she didn't just take that session and said, wow, that felt really, really good. She actually executed it. And so today we're going to share with you some of her results that she got from launching those ads. And then we will talk about some more surprising ads. Laurel, do you want to kick us off with kind of an update as to the results that you got from last week's session?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that, I had been kind of toying with was the messaging around who actually needs my program. And for years and years and years, I've been selling it to solopreneurs who want to learn how to do ads themselves. And I felt like I was completely ignoring a huge market of people who have people on their team that should actually be executing this instead of them. And so after Joel and I's conversation, where Joel just kind of helped me come up with some really fun angles, I just got creative and I was like, I'm just going to go do this and I'm going to start testing this. Joel, do you want to actually just show them what the ads look like or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. And so I just really had fun with it. So the main angle of this entire thing is I'll turn your VA into a clone of me. Like literally just buy my $7 program. You don't have to go through it, send anyone, and they don't even have to be a marketing expert, right? That was one of the things that Joel really kept implying last week when we were talking is like, you don't have to be a marketing expert to actually deploy the strategy because I've got GPTs and everything pretty much teaching people how to be a clone of me. inside the program. And so you can see right here, your VA doesn't need to be a marketing genius. They just need a system that removes the guesswork step by step. So that was something that I got, out from Joel. And then just talking a slightly different angle of what founders should be doing versus what they should be delegating to someone on their team. And just like talking about, like, hey, that this is built upon 22 years of direct response. And it's basically the same framework that my higher level clients are paying me to, deploy for them for 3,000 a month. Just kind of worked in a little couple of case studies, slight variation on the ad here. I'll turn your VA into a clone of me, basically just me uploading my information into, your VA. Kind of just the same stuff, just kind of like this one is talking about the numbers because Joel pointed out that I need to be showing this gap analysis, the constraint analysis math that we talked about. And so I wrote an entire ad around that and just kind of like was like, okay, what kind of image could I do? And by the way, like I'm just like doing these in like quick AI. Like you could even tell this isn't even a perfect thing, but I think the conversation around today is just launch the darn things. The ugliest ads work. Like this doesn't even like this is a picture of me holding another funnel and I super like it's not the cleanest, it's not the prettiest, but guess what? It's converting for under $4 a purchase, right? And then this one just came up from a conversation about, how accident attorneys, they know how to do marketing, right? You see their billboards everywhere. They don't expect people to need them at the time that they see the billboard. Their whole goal is we just want it to be memorable at a time when people need it. And so I just kind of leaned into that angle about how they, have really great marketing. And then this other one came out of the conversation that Joel and I were having that a lot of people are just turning off the wrong ads. Like a lot of times, like this image right here basically explains how a lot of you guys who are watching right now, you're seeing the winning ad and you're like, why is Facebook giving budget to these other ads in the ad set, even though they're not winning? It's because the algorithm is smarter than you. Facebook is actually tracking every single one of these ads and it knows this person saw this ad first, second, third, then converted on the fourth, but yet y'all are turning off ads that are not getting conversions. But remember, Andromeda is smarter than all of us. And so basically this ad is just a representation of what Joel and I explained last week about how Andromeda just knows who to show the ads to. And so a lot of people have anxiety thinking that Facebook is, quote, spending their money on non-winning ads, but Facebook knows what ads people viewed before that conversion ad. So I know I just threw a lot at you guys, but that all came out of the conversation that Joel and I had. And I was telling Joel, I've got some converting at $3. I've got some converting a little under $5. I've got a couple at 11, but I know that I can spend up to $212 to acquire a customer. So all of those prices are okay with me.
And what you told me earlier, Laurel, was these are the first new ads that you created in like a year for cold traffic?
Probably over 2, like, probably closer to 2. That is just how much, like, I've just run a lot of video ads, like, those are what I do, like, and I was just so inspired, though, after our last conversation that I was like, "This is too good not to go test."
Yeah. So one of the things that I love talking about with ads, because we really do need people to understand, like, stop turning off the supporting ads, right? So that ad is really, really powerful. Okay, I had this conversation. Yesterday was the Super Bowl. I was having this conversation with my 9-year-old son because he was asking, we were talking about Super Bowl ads. And I said, well, Dominic, guess what? Back in the day, when I was, so I'm 40. So we're talking, I don't know, 25 years ago, right? Back in the day, people used to watch the Super Bowl just for the commercials. And I was explaining to him that the Super Bowl is the #1 event on the planet, like, of the year. Like, the most number of eyeballs will watch the Super Bowl than any other show, any other program throughout the entire year. So people pay a lot of money to place their ads at the Super Bowl. And so we were just going down this rabbit hole of trying to explain, what was happening. I said, well, back in the day, people would create memorable, really funny ads because that was just the style of what they would do because they know that people will remember those ads forever. And I was then explaining to him, I said, for example, like 25 or 30 years ago, Reebok ran this ad called The Office Linebacker with Terry Tate. Do you remember that? Have you seen that ad?
I do not remember that one
Okay.
specifically, but I bet you if I saw it, I would be like, "Yep," because
it's hysterical. Like, everyone should go to YouTube and watch, search for, Office Linebacker Terry Tate. Like, it's just one of those memorable ads that I still remember 30 years later, 25 years later, whatever it is. And so I was trying to explain to him like the value of what that does. I said, what I do with a lot of my clients is we'll create very direct response, or I don't say direct response, but I would create ads that would be very much, hey, you should go do this action, right? But when you get to a certain level, and this works for every advertiser, but I was explaining to him, I said, what they do is maybe you're Pepsi, maybe you're Coke. The last thing that they really want to do is say, hey, you should go buy a 6-pack of Coke. You should go buy a 12-pack of Pepsi, because they're not going to just stand up and leave and go to the grocery store right then. Their buying process is, we know they go to the grocery store 6 times a week. We want them to remember our ads. So when they're in the aisle, we want them to remember how that ad made them feel. Okay. Did it make them laugh? Did it make them feel more empathetic? Did it make them whatever? What was the positive emotion that this ad had a lasting impact on them? So when they go walk down the aisle and they see Coke versus Pepsi, like, oh, I really like those polar bears. Those polar bears really made me, all warm and fuzzy
That was,
on the
by the way,
inside.
that was really funny. That
Yeah.
commercial last night, I immediately knew they're poking fun of Coca-Cola.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's like, oh, I just remember polar bears. But I said, that's what we do. That's part of what we do with advertising. It's like, oh, okay. He's just starting to get it. But the lesson was hilarious. It's such a valuable lesson of, stop killing your supporting ads. We have been conditioned in the world of paid advertising to just hyper focus on which ad is giving us the conversion. Like what was the ad that's got the lowest cost per conversion, when you have to treat it almost like an organic marketing strategy where you have, lots of supporting ads that push your brand and get them to remember your stuff through funny ads, through emotional ads, through any sort of different angle, because that is true branding, right? Branding will make you so much more money than trying to scale direct response marketing. I'm not trying to poo-poo direct response marketing. Like they all have a role together, right? But, that's really what I want people to understand is having that collection, having that ecosystem. I call it an advertising infrastructure that supports the entire objective, and stop, looking at that one ad that gives you the conversion, and maybe the other ones don't have a high or a low cost per conversion, but they're still supporting the ultimate narrative. And so, anyway, it was such a cool moment that I got to have with Dominic yesterday, and explaining to him, ad recall. What is ad recall, and the ability of just to remember your ads. And your lawyer billboard is hilarious because there's a law firm locally that owns the firm of the fours, 444-4444. They probably advertise globally or nationally as well, but it's totally true. It's totally true. It's whenever they get in an accident, what's the one thing they're going to remember? One number. They just keep hitting it until you get us.
Yeah, I think because the internet marketing space got just really spoiled with, conversion ads, that I think a lot of people just skipped learning advertising and they just focus on sales. They think it's the same thing. And there's advertising and then there's sales. And if you really understood advertising at a really, really deep level, you will understand that really there's no way to lose with ads, but the way that people lose is because they're looking at them the wrong way and they're turning them off. They're turning them on. They're turning them off. And that's literally sending signals to the algorithm. And so if your ads are very inconsistent, take a look at yourself, because if you're managing your ads in an inconsistent way, that is why the algorithm is responding in an inconsistent way, because you were sending it mixed signals.
100%. All right. Now, let's dive into this next thing that I want to talk about, which is surprising ads. Laurel, what are some examples of some surprising ads that either you've launched where you initially doubted it, you're like, there's no way this is going to work, or I think this is a horrible ad, and it surprised you because it ended up being a very successful ad, either with yourself or with your clients? Can you give us some examples of that?
100%. And I'm going to cred Mr. Billy Jean, because he's the one that taught me this framework. And whenever he actually taught it, I was like, this just sounds like so simple, to actually work. And it's called the frustrating ad. And it has brought in close to $500,000 in sales for my $7 program. This one ad, that was the ad that people land on, that Facebook is telling me that these people are actually converting. And it's very simple and it's very ugly. It's a very ugly ad. It's literally just a picture of me messing up my hair. I'm just going like this. And I have the word ad agency Microsoft Paint or something ridiculous, and it's like an X on ad agency, and that's it. And then the framework is very simple. It's there's nothing more frustrating than blank. And then you list 3 reasons why that blank is frustrating, and then it just says try this for a different result. And so the way that he taught it was the first thing that he was like, okay, but you got to pick an enemy. He's like, so many people are gonna chicken out of this. He's like, you got to go bold. He's like, you can't say there's nothing more frustrating than, not getting results or something like that. He's like, you have to pick an enemy. And so the first way that he did it was there's nothing more frustrating than Trump. And then he was like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, but then the same thing could be there's nothing more frustrating than Biden. And then he gave 3 reasons. And then he gave there's nothing more frustrating than grapes. They kill your dog, they're blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so that's the framework. And so I just took it and ran with it. And I was like, I'm going to poke fun because like I used to run, I used to have an agency, and I'm like, I'm just going to poke fun at myself. And so I was like, there's nothing more frustrating than ad agencies, blah, 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 blah. And then try this for a different result. And it was just a link to my $7 program.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, like I'm on a blue background. I like took the background out, so I made the high contrast. As a matter of fact, it's like the color of my wall back there, but just high contrast. And my hair's like I'm just messing up my hair to like take picture taken with my iPhone. Yeah, over 500,000 on that one ad, and that has been running since 2021.
Jeez.
That is how long that one ad has been running.
Wow.
If I look at all of my most successful ads, they're the ugliest ads. Like I had an ad for my client. My client actually didn't want me to run it. And he's in the MSP space, like the managed service provider space.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally just did an orange background, and I was like, need more MSP sales, ? Like in just big, bold, ugly text. And he's like, I don't think we should run that, blah, blah, blah. It just doesn't look like my brand. It doesn't look professional. He didn't hate it after like all of the phone calls that it booked for his business. But it's like the ugliest, plain, just, because a lot of my clients, they get really upset when we create ads that go beyond their brand. They want their brand to be like, oh, and I'm like, the most branded ads, they just don't, in my opinion and in my experience, most of them don't work because they just aren't edgy, And so whenever I go to, I mean, you guys saw the screenshots of the ads that I did this last week. I mean, they're not perfect. They're just like, you just kind of you got to look at it and say, what's going to stand out in the news feed, right? I love gaudy colors, like bright pinks and like bright, turquoise colors. And I really love lime yellow. But like just colors that just like get people's attention and just kind of like have that pattern interrupt. There was another one a client didn't want me to run. He is a weight loss. He has a weight loss clinic in Florida. And when Hernan first showed me, like all of those cartoon ads that you do with Chat GPT,
Mm-hmm.
my brain is just, and I think this is just because I have a television background. I just like, I just let my everything that I've ever wanted to do in TV that I was never able to do, I just do it now, right? Because there's no rules for me. And so I was like, it was an ad that said, it, using my method is better than cardio in Florida. And it's a guy getting chased by an alligator. And it's a cartoon, like, and he was like, I don't think we should run that. And I was like, it is freaking funny. And that was the ad that drew the most leads to his quiz for, if his weight loss clinic could actually help them lose weight. And so I hope people are just like, this is like just giving people like an idea that like ads don't have to be this like very serious thing. As a matter of fact, the more that you could actually make people entertained by them, the more that they're going to actually read every single ad that you put out.
100%. The one thing that I want, it's funny because so what we're doing with our automatic ads platform right now is we're going after ads agencies as well, although we also serve ads agencies. And so it's this interesting dichotomy where, if you look at a Venn diagram, like my ideal customer is like, I have an ideal customer who doesn't want to pay expensive money to an ads agency. And I have an ideal customer who is the ads agency and they're trying to scale their ads agency by acquiring more clients. Like there's a clear Venn diagram of who is not a good fit for me. And these are people who will pay money for an ads agency. It's like when you think about your ideal customer persona, it's like I can throw stones at ads agencies while still serving a solution to ads agencies as well. And the person that I do not want to target are actually big budget, marketers who just want to completely delegate it, right? Because there's still a segment of the market where an ads agency makes sense, right?
Hmm.
And so it's really funny when you understand this and you start to really understand who your ideal customer persona is, because what you talked about earlier is you should pick an enemy. Like it is such a powerful such a powerful mechanism to attract your ideal customer. And the way that Billie Jean's ad structure that you used works, because there's when you write ad copy, everyone always talks about like sell with pain, and the whole nine yards. I'm like, man, that's a slippery slope. Like that's definitely not a good broad brush to paint, because if you only talk about problems and pain points, you attract desperate customers who just don't really want to find a solution. But that framework that you shared, which is what was the opening sentence again? Because
There's
it's really
nothing more, yeah, there's nothing more frustrating than blank. And it
okay.
has to be an actual enemy, not the cop out, right?
Correct. Correct. So think about it this way. Think of that opening. There's nothing more frustrating than blank, problem, problem, problem. How most people write copy is, are you suffering from this problem, this problem, this problem? That framing attracts two completely different personas, even though they're doing the messaging is very, very similar, right? When you are leading with there's nothing more frustrating than all of these different things, it's almost like it's a rallying cry of, yes, we've all got this problem. Now, who's got the solution for it? Versus, are you tired of, being fat, overweight, and high blood pressure and all these other things? It's like, well, yeah, you're going to attract people like that too, but it's not a rallying cry around an idea. You're going to attract these people who are just looking for the magic potion, the magic bullet, right? And yeah, there's just subtle nuances with copy that make such a big difference in the result. And I love that. Like I don't know what Billie Jean calls that, but like that should be like a rallying cry. Like, I call, my ads power offers, right? But that should be like a rallying cry frame. I really love it.
It's
This is
so good. And what I love about it, and people are sometimes just a little bit scared because they know about the feedback that they're going to get on the ad. I live for that, because like the more engagement that my ad gets, the lower the cost that Facebook's going to show it in front of more people. And I love the conversations around that happen underneath that ad. And I mean, it's got like ad agencies being like, you don't know, like ad agencies going to defend themselves and stuff like that. But then like I go back and I'm one of those people that will respond to every single one of my comments, and I never get heated or anything like that. Like I always just like meet any comment with logic. And a lot of people have actually told me that they've actually bought my program just by the way that I'm handling the negative stuff like
mhm.
that's on my ads. And so I think those are lots of little nuances that people don't think about. Like there's so many different components of an ad that leads the ad down that conversion route. And I think it's like a whole bunch of things that lead to that people just think, oh, it's just this, it's just that. It's like, if you are very responsive on your ads, if you create ads that create a conversation, Facebook is going to reward you and show that ad in front of more people.
Yeah. All right. So going down this topic of, you know, expanding your creativity and coming up with lots of different angles to pull in different personas. I want to share the original self-identifying power offer ad that I
Hmm.
came up with one of my clients. And so giving him all the credit because he actually had 90% of this written, Brent Kokel. I did actually find the ad. He wrote this, but it was on his Facebook business page as the about section. So as I was doing my own market research of like what he was doing, I read this statement and I'm like, dude, this needs to be an ad. He's like, are you kidding me? He's like, yeah, well, like with a few small tweaks, this needs to be the ad. And so I found it. It was written back in 2020. Oh my goodness, it is 2026. And oh my goodness, almost 6 years ago to the day. To the day. I can't believe that was 6 years ago. Anyway, so this is a self-identifying ad, and what it's meant to do is just explain polar opposites it's a polarizing ad that's also showcasing their future self. Because when you are selling transformation in coaching, and I'm sure there's ways that you can transform this for e-commerce too, probably look a lot different, but you're selling some sort of transformation of who they want to become. And so if you take a look at this, I'm gonna bleep out the cuss word. I don't think he dropped this in his ad. I think this was maybe he did. I'm not entirely sure, but this was his ad. I am intense as blank. I wake up at 4:35, work out at 5 a.m., measure the amount of coconut milk I put in my protein shake, weigh chicken breasts before I cook them, read 2 to 3 books per month, spend my days doing my best to execute on the crap that actually matters in my business, take my wife on 2 dates per week, take each of my kids out on 1 date per week, fall asleep at 9:37 every night, never 9:36 or 9:38. I know that's weird. People used to think I was crazy for doing all this. I thought I was crazy too. There might actually be something different about my brain that gave me this level of discipline. Kind of crazy. But I think there's a way to decode, deconstruct, and then reverse engineer it. For the next few months, I'm going on a mission to do just that. Come along for the ride if you want, or don't. I'm going with or without you. Like, this is such a great ad. And, I want you guys to, I want you to, write this ad down, take a screenshot, whatever. And I want you to start to map out a version of this for yourself. Okay. And one of the things that sells incredibly well, it's not the words on the paper, it's personality. Okay. Personality is a unique differentiator that we all have. Your brand has a personality. You yourself, if you're selling a personal brand, you have a personality. And if you want to attract your ideal customers, speak exactly like how you are, how you operate. Explain what your lifestyle is. Explain the quirks. There was another ad that I wrote a long time ago that was one of my longest running ads, and it just crushed it. And I explained how I was a nerdy engineer that turned into a marketer, and how those are two conflicting personalities. I talked about how I was Jekyll and Hyde and the whole 9 yards. I told that story about how weird I was, and that crushed it. Absolutely crushed it for my agency. We brought in the highest quality apps ever, right? It wasn't some awesome, persuasive story using the greatest copywriting techniques. It was personality driven advertising. And so I call these identity based power offer ads just because I like to give unique mechanisms to all of them. But talk about your personality. Get your personality to come out in your words, in your videos, in your copy, and teach them a little bit about what it looks like in the day of the life of who you are, and use the language that you write. There was another ad that I wrote where I talked about how, I drop my kids off at school every single day, go for a ruck at 9 o'clock for 2 hours. I spend the first 3 hours of every day doing personal development work and the whole 9 yards. I just gave people another insight as to the day of life of me. And again, crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. So this is another style ad that you guys can all model, that you guys can all just tweak, because it is actionable, and personality driven ads just absolutely crush. Laurel, do you have anything to comment on this?
Well, and it's empowering. Like, I always tell my students, like, because my students, a lot of them, they'll come to me and they'll write their first line will be like, are you struggling with blah blah blah? And one day I did an entire Zoom call just talking about like how I don't like agitating the pain. Like, I do not like that angle at all. Like, I don't want my audience or my clients or whoever's coming to work with me to feel bad about themselves. I want to empower them. I don't feel like agitating the pain. Like, and I get it, it works, but like, I have the same macro belief in what you said a while ago, that when you lead with pain, you get people who are in really, like really bad places. And I think that for some niches, that is probably the thing that they're trying to do. But for probably 90% of niches, it's probably more effective to lead with an empowering script just like this one, because it will activate. And that's what I like. That's what I try to tell my students is like, you want to write things that will activate your leads, not like, bring them down.
So I want
And
to jump in.
that's just my 2 cents.
I want to comment on that, because what you said gave me a lot of clarity. Just hearing you come back with the different types of personas, like, you still do want to talk about pain points that they're solving, right? But you don't want to attract the people who are in pain. Now, what does that mean? How do you talk about pains, but not necessarily attracting people who are in pain? Well, people who are in pain and they're constantly suffering from pain, there's a large segment of those people who are not actively trying to invest in themselves to find a solution. They want the pill. They want whatever the latest weight loss drug is. They want the bulletproof mechanism, right? And for a lot of us, if we're selling high ticket services, or maybe you do sell that, whatever, awesome, go sell based on pains. But here's what's different about the framework you shared from Billie Jean. The people who are willing to invest in themselves for a solution, for a transformation, they know that they're an investor. They have that investor mindset of willing to invest to get some sort of solution. Frustrated is a different state than being buried in pain with no visible sign of a solution. Okay. Frustrated means you have tried and failed. And I talk about this all the time in my marketing, is that you want to target the tried and failed segment of your market. These are people who are actively trying to solve a problem, but haven't been able to do it yet. So what does that mean? They're frustrated. They're frustrated. So the implied belief, the implied situation is that they have tried and failed other solutions and they just haven't found the one that works. How that's different from the people who are just buried in pain is that these people who are buried in pain are not necessarily trying to invest in themselves and failing. They are just buried and not actively trying to invest in a better solution. So that word frustrated implies tried and failed, which naturally will attract a better quality lead, at least for the markets of like coaching and services, the whole 9 yards. I think there's such a subtle shift there that makes such a big difference.
And I think too, it has a lot to do with market sophistication too, because like the market has never been more sophisticated than it is now. It's very rare to find a pocket of people who haven't already tried at least one thing if you're like in the B2B space. And so I think that frustrated message comes off as, I'm going to get people who have already spent X amount of money trying to solve this problem already. And so that's the way that I always look at it. It's because it's a super sophisticated way to call out the people that you want to attract versus the people that are just sitting there, like you said,
Yeah.
Just looking for the easy button, because there is none.
Yeah. So I want to bring it full circle and come back to Brent's ad. I want to identify and break it down a little bit because yes, this is all personality driven, but you have to understand why this ad works so well is because it future paces. It does a lot of things really, really well. Number one, it future paces the people who are looking for discipline. They're looking for productivity. That was his offer, right? It was discipline and productivity, get more crap done. Number two, there's a lot of curiosity just naturally baked into this, right? Without being overtly trying to be curious. Where's the curiosity coming from this? Well, if you look at his day, the entire thing is curiosity driven. Like you wake up at 4:35, wake out at 5 a.m., measure the amount of coconut milk I put in like all this stuff is just weird. It's curiosity driven because like you wouldn't think that most people that there's anyone who acts like this. And then I fall asleep at 9:37 every night, never 9:36 or 9:38. Like that's curiosity. Like what is the matter with this guy? Like how is he able to just build this level of discipline? There's a lot of aspirational messages in here as well. I take my wife on 2 days per week. Take each one of my kids out on 1 date per week. How many of you guys, not you guys, but like how many people would probably be interested in learning how to actually do this? Like how does he fit all this stuff in a single week? 3 dates per week. Actually, I know he has multiple kids, so however many dates that is, you take your wife out on 2 dates a week, right? Measure your chicken breasts, read 2 to 3 books per month, fall asleep at exactly 9:37 every night. I mean, this entire ad is curiosity and personality driven, and it blew up his business. It absolutely blew up his business. We just threw a call to action on here. We used the same image, edited out the swear words, and this was it. It was the call to action here was like, hey, come along for the ride if you want, or don't. I'm going with or without you. That is very much a take it or leave it style offer. And like now the people who respond to that, like you want to talk about clients who probably are fantastic to work with, and they're brought in from this ad, like no nonsense individuals. Like I'm going to lay everything out on the line of exactly how I operate. Either you resonate with me or you don't. That's on you either way. Like this is my all-time favorite ad. And so I wanted to break down a lot of the core elements just because there's so much happening with this and he didn't even know it. And so it blew up his business. I think it took him to 100 grand a month in like 2 or 3 months, something like that. Don't quote me on that. Don't go and figure out if that was true or not. But I know it did very, very well for him.
They can go into the archives of your podcast. I remember when you did a podcast episode on this, and I actually went. I want to say, did you? I think you interviewed him, didn't you?
I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
because and he had an amazing mini webinar to go with this, or something that was on his sales page. I remember
Yeah.
writing it, and I remember thinking, I'm like, I have to teach this framework to my students. And I remember I launched my own ad, and it's still running. Like, so I know if that has 2020 on it, that ad that I'm running is
Well,
that
those are
old too.
evergreen marketing principles.
Yep.
That's the difference between what we teach and what we do is like everyone wants the one winning ad. It's like it's not about that. Like you got to learn the basics, like learn the fundamentals before you learn to fly. Like crawl before you walk before you run before you fly, whatever it is, right? And so it's marketing, right? You gotta learn the foundational principles. And it's funny because like these are the types of things now that the system that we built with our platform that we can automate, and we can spin up new versions of this stuff so you don't have to extract all of that, that hard labor and that manual, work. And so anyway, I love these chats, Laurel. I think these are fantastic. These are
And by the way, your
so-
platform is awesome. I spent most of my weekend clipping like most of my favorite ads so that I don't have to think so much, right? Because like I had to think about how to spit out those images. I was like, I'm going to use your software to just clip all of my stuff plus all of my favorite ads so that I can just like not have to think so much on Monday.
Did I show you the results that I've had? Like, so we started running ads to my my funnel. I'll share it with everybody here. Actually, I want to show what kind of results we are getting from ads that was created by my platform. So we started running ads to this funnel. It took me a little while to get the funnel built. So the URL is learn.getinspired.app/ I think I ended up doing apply. So initially, version 1, I wanted to do a short free training, teaching something about ads, and then there's going to be an apply button. I'm like, I don't know why I'm not just going straight to power offer. Like I didn't even eat my own cooking, right? I was trying to overcomplicate. I was like, I'll do a mini webinar and all this other stuff, and like no, power offer straight to book a call. And anyway, so I ended up I used AI to actually build this page, which I think looks pretty sweet, but it's super, super simple, right? So this is what I teach everybody. Laurel, this is what you teach, right? Lead with the offer, right? What's the core promise? Here it is. Scale your meta ads as little as 15 minutes per week, guaranteed, right? Then you got a short little power offer style video, mini webinar where I'm just talking to the camera. Here's what it's going to do for you, and then book a 15-minute call. So anyway, this is crushing for us. So after coming up with a bunch of different iterations and different funnels, this is working very, very well. So I was excited because I got to use my own software to come up with the ads. And so in my ad account here, let's do this one right here. We are getting book calls for about, on average, like $30 to $40 right now. So we have
That's awesome.
7 appointments scheduled. This ad right here, which was built by our system, this ad right here. I don't know why I turned this off. There was a reason why I turned it off, but it got us $36. This one's crushing it for us. So if we open this up and look at the ad, I've got some power offer ads that are going to be published here shortly. This is the winner that is generating the most amount of interest, which was 100% generated from our platform. By the way, these text ads were crushing it, but scale past $50,000 per month in ad spend without an agency, the 15-minute ad system, no retainer, keep your CPA low, stay lean and hands-on. So this is working really, really well for us right now. Again, it's just a power offer style ad. I think I can zoom in. Maybe you guys can pause it. You can see what the ad copy looks like. I'm not going to read it for you guys, but anyway, it's fantastic. So, and it'll come up with new iterations for you as often as you want, and it's fully automated, which is fantastic. So I'm excited. I'll share with you guys more about how our funnel is performing. As we start to scale it up, will be a live case study for you, and Laurel's using it as well. And I'm excited to teach her and show her how to get onboarded with the platform as well. But fun call today, Laurel. What else? Anything else?
I'm trying to think. No, but you can tell like one of my ads was highlighted in hot pink. That came from like just playing around with your AI stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna make mine hot pink too. But yeah, I've just been like playing on the platform, and I can't wait till I can just have it automated to where like every single Monday it launches five, because that's the framework that I tell my students to do is launch 5 new ads every single Monday. Just get them on a schedule, and your tool just makes it so much easier to do that. And then especially like if they're clipping ads that are already, written in their own style and everything like that, that's just going to make it so much easier to do.
Love it. Love it. Excited to see your progress as well. All right, we'll wrap up today. Appreciate all you guys. Hopefully, if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed these breakdowns, these ad breakdowns, I think we'll be doing more of this stuff. It's very actionable. Hopefully, give you some in the weeds type of information on how things are working out in the wild of Facebook ads. But if you enjoyed this, go ahead and like and share and follow Laurel, follow me, and comment down below. Love to see your feedback. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye, guys.